Sit. Sit. This is my buddy Scooby, and this is Scooby's roadmap to success. Whenever you give me a treat, remember the combination or the order goes like this. You tell the dog what to do or lure it with your hand. When the dog is about to do what you want, you're going to say the command word right before they achieve it. Then you're going to either give a, you could say the command word, or I guess use a marker word. Then you're going to give the pet or the treat. And I'll show you right here with a sit. Scooby, come. Or here is his word. So sit, sit. That was not the best demonstration. Let's try that one more time. So I'm going to say sit, treat. So I said sit right before his butt hit the ground. I said, and then his butt hit the ground. Then I gave him the treat. So what you're doing is you're directing, he's doing, and then he gets rewarded for doing. All right, so Scooby is, if you can see by his physique, he is a very high energy dog, and I shouldn't be petting a dog. I'm not petting you for jumping up, but you're so cute. When I jumped up, he jumped up and he nipped right here. He almost got my eye, and he wasn't doing it at all aggressively. He is just so excited that sometimes I think he's just like a lot of us, when we get too excited, we lose control of our faculties. So we started off the exercise with the anti-jumping technique. So remember, you're gonna be on the leash, you're gonna be stepping on the leash, and you're gonna make sure you're far enough away from that top part of your landing so that somebody can come out there and stand there, and they're just outside Scooby's reach, and they're turned sideways to him like this angle. And as soon as Scooby calms down, I turn to reach to pet him. That's gonna cause him to wiggle. I pull back and I step out of his reach, and I turn sideways. I'm not yelling at him and I'm telling him what to do. I'm just disengaging when he does a behavior that I don't want. So as soon as he jumps, shows excitement, I turn away and just chill out. And as soon as he's calm, I reach to pet him. And you'll do a whole bunch of this back and forth, and eventually he'll just stay seated because that's what gets him the attention. So what I'd recommend you do is have your friends, right now during Corona, we don't have a lot of people coming over. So when you're coming home for each other, I would, sometimes park in the driveway and ring the doorbell and pretend like you're a guest. Now, when you guys are coming home outside of practicing this exercise, what I would have you do is when you come in, you just ignore him. Pretend like he's not even there. Walk past him. He's going to be all excited, jumping and circling and all this fun stuff. You ignore him. As soon as he calms down, then you start reaching for him. He gets excited. You pull back your arm and go back to doing what you're doing. This is really operant conditioning. What you're saying is when you're calm, you're very attracted to me. I want to pet you. As soon as you're excited, then I stop petting you. Now I'm going to go over a little dog psychology because of what's going on right over here. This dog is barking. I don't know if you can hear on camera. The guardian is saying, shut up, stop it, and saying the dog's name. For dogs, anything a dog is doing when you give it attention, good attention or bad attention, is what you're validating. So the dog is barking, you're yelling, shut up. The dog's like, yes, he's yelling at me. He's barking too. There we go. Boy, you got a lot of beans. Now this also applies to bad behavior, or I should say unwanted behavior. So if you come home and your dog jumps up on you, you pet it, you're rewarding the dog for jumping up on you. That's going to cause the dog to jump up on you to get that behavior. My Corona's kicking in, just kidding. Although I'm getting tested for it tomorrow. Just because I'm going to be physical. All right. I'm watching him run, man, he's fast. And we're talking about exercise in a second. I should have brought my water out. Okay, so when you come home and he's excited, you're just going to ignore him completely, walk around, and when he calms down, you reach for him. That's going to cause him to get excited. You pull back. It's probably going to take 10, 15 minutes before he stays calm, and then you're petting him in that calm and balanced frame of mind. A couple more dog psychology things. Anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're reinforcing. Good attention, bad attention from you, pretty much the same thing. And anything the dog does in your presence that you don't disagree with, you're saying that as my seal of approval. This is important to understand because the way that dogs learn is they probe. They're waiting for feedback, we call it. But they're waiting for you to correct them or to give them a reward. So if the dog probes and we disagree consistently at the same line over and over again, the dog understands that's a line that I'm not supposed to cross. But if it probes and I disagree, and the next time it probes and I'm not paying attention and I don't disagree, that confuses the dog. Inconsistency is one of the reasons why we confuse dogs the most. So now this dog that's barking over here, if the dog's barking, I'm yelling at it to be quiet, well, good attention, bad attention, same thing. So if the dog's barking, yes, Scoob's like, I can bark too. Then I would probably, I would walk out there and I would go have a treat, walk over to the dog, let it sniff that I have a treat and lead it back inside, and ask it to sit and give it a treat inside for sitting after I close the door. So I didn't yell at the dog, I didn't go chase it, I didn't chastise it and punish it. I just went over and burned the energy to follow through, and I took the dog out of the situation. The best thing you do is your dog's reactive is increase the distance. And that's what I would do by taking the dog away. Now, if the dog is barking at me for demanded barking, which I'm sure Scooby does, that I'm going to ignore completely. He could be barking in my ear at 1,000,000 decibels, and I'm not going to even blink because any attention is going to validate that behavior. We'll talk about petting with the purpose and passive training in a minute, and those are two things that will undo that. We start off after the leash deal at the door. The anti-jumping technique is we went over exercise, and we did a little bit of exercise for him. The Guardian here does a good job. She takes him for 2 walks a day. One's about 20 minutes, one's about 30 to 40 minutes. Those are 2 great walks. But for dog exercise, it's best done multiple times a day in shorter, more intense intervals. And so the Guardians play fetch. I would do fetch the same way that I'm here, the way I'm doing it for fetch. The same way that I'm doing it for the doggy Stairmaster. So remember, to exercise your dog, you should have an empty stomach, drop, fetch. As you throw it, you say fetch. When the dog picks it up, fetch. And then have a treat ready to go, fetch. And that lines them all up. Now eventually you do a pre-mac and say, up. See how he's all full of beans? You can't see him, he's a little bit off camera. Sit. I haven't had that one before. Now what I'm doing is I'm out the dog. As soon as the SITs, I'm going to throw it. Like I said, I didn't say it in the video, but he would probably be a good agility dog. And the kennel training exercise above will help with that. Let's try it. Well, now I'm trying to do this without giving the command word. Scoop, sit, sit. That was on you, buddy. Sit. So he needs to be more conditioned. So what I would do is I would have a treat like this. And I would say, sit, sit. Come here, Scooby. Sit. Sit. So what I'm trying to do is, because the ball is more important to him than the treat, he wants the ball, he wasn't interested in listening to my sit command. So I'm using it with the treat to make it a little bit more enticing. And so what I would do is say sit, fetch. So the sitting causes me to throw the ball. And that's the pre-mac that we talked about, and I'll talk about that more in a second. Now get him a drop, drop. Now right there I'm doing it for a fetch, but anytime he has an object in his mouth, you want to hold out a treat or something, wait for him, drop. So you want to wait for him to open his mouth as it starts spilling out of his mouth, then you just say drop, and then you pop the treat in his mouth. And this will motivate him eventually to drop low value items. But exercise is going to be the name of the game for this guy. Like I said, he would be a great agility dog. You just saw what he was doing there. You just send that to Go Dogs. They'll be like, we'll take him. So basically the idea is for the doggy Stairmaster, I show him, and we want to do it, remember, with an empty stomach, and also check with your vet to make sure your vet is okay with him using the stairs. If he has some German Shepherd in him, German Shepherds are prone to hip dysplasia. We don't want to make it bad, and sometimes or problematic. And sometimes with puppies, they can have kind of soft bones, and repetitive activities might be detrimental. So make sure you check with your vet. But I'm going to go through it regardless. So basically, you show him the have a treat, and he has an empty stomach. I whip the treat to the bottom of the stairs, and for you guys to the bottom of the landing, all the way to the bottom of the stairs, and go to the carpet landing, get that white piece of carpet for the bottom so you can see that treat, and go to Amazon and look for the motion sensor LED light. You can just put it on the ceiling right there, and anytime anybody walks out of that room, it'll illuminate it for 90 seconds. Here. That's passive training. We're not quite there yet. Okay, so I throw the treat to the bottom of the stairs. He runs to the bottom of the stairs. As he's about to lick it up, we say Mexico is the word we use for the bottom of the stairs. Then I call him, and he runs to the top of the stairs. Right before he gets to me, I give him the treat. I say Canada, then I give him the treat. And I count each down up as 1. And keep doing that until he's like, you're crazy, man. I'm there 98 times. I'm not doing it anymore. We need to know that maximum number so we can figure out what his 50 to 75% of that maximum number is. That's where we're going to exercise him. So same thing for fetch. So fetch him with an empty stomach. Say fetch as you throw it, when he picks it up, and when you have the treat for him. And fetch him until he says, I'm not fetching anymore. So we need to know what the maximum number is that. And then the idea is we figure out what that maximum number is, and then we play around with the quantities until we find the right amount. So there's 2 dogs that are walking behind. I don't know if Scooby will bark at them. But basically, let's say that there's a lot of people who walk their dogs there, and Scooby likes to come out and bark at the fence for those people. Well, then he's practicing that behavior. So if I want him to not bark at them, I need to set him up for success, and a great way to do that is to exercise him properly. So let's say every day at 5 o'clock, when everybody comes home from work, post-COVID, that's when everybody's walking their dogs. Well, maybe at 4:45, I do 5 minutes on the doggy stairmaster. Then remember, after exercise, he needs 10 minutes to recover. Then we come out and we practice maybe some obedience training out here, where we've burned out his excess energy so he doesn't feel a need to run over there and bark at those dogs. We also went over scent games, Google scent games. There's a lot of different options for that. Order an Omega Paw treat ball, order a snuffle mat. Feed him his meals out of a snuffle mat twice a day and use the Omega Paw treat ball for lunch. For the Omega ball, I say soccer every time my dog licks it up, and so I have a different word for that one. And remember, the snuffle mat will burn some energy. Or the sniffing burns a lot of energy. That's why on walks we want to make sure that we are letting him sniff as much as possible, as long as it's safe to do so. So don't take a circuit when you walk anymore. Just give yourself a duration. If I got 15 minutes, I'm going to walk for 7.5 minutes this direction. When my timer goes off, meaning I'm 7.5 minutes into it, I cross the street and I walk back for another 7.5 minutes. I'm letting my dog sniff as much as it wants. So I might only walk 3 houses. My dog's sniffing the whole time. That burns more energy than walking. It's also relaxing and stimulating and all the rest of that stuff. So basically, I'd like you to play around with it and come up with a schedule. Again, the formula that I came up with that I would suggest, I suggest usually for everybody: get up, let him go outside and do his business. Then do the doggy stairmaster or a game of fetch. A pretty heavy game. That would be closer to that 75% range. Then he comes inside, he's all worked up and he needs time to relax and calm down. You go and shower and do your morning ritual. When you get done with your shower and dressing, he's relaxed, then you can feed him out of a snuffle mat. That's 2 forms of exercise we've gotten him within the first hour. He's probably going to take a nap. Then we do a little bit of work. Then he wakes up. Maybe we do scent games at that point. And he takes another nap. Maybe then we do a short walk, or we do fetch, or the doggy stairmaster. And then we take lunch. We feed him out of the Omega Paw treat ball. That's all more exercise. And then we do maybe a stairmaster or scent games in the afternoon. Another game of fetch or another walk, and feed him out of the snuffle mat. That's like about 7 or 8 forms of exercise that we did, where it really doesn't take a lot of time or energy from the humans. And so you need to find a rhythm so that you can get that energy, those exercise regimens in, again, every 2 to 4 hours. Let me see if there was something else I want to talk about with that. It'll come back to me. We also talked about the importance of rules. And remember, rules are not for being good or bad. Rules are to help the dog see who the leader is, and the leaders are the ones who enforce the rules. It also helps him practice some self-restraint, self-control. Some of the rules we went over: not being allowed on the furniture. Order those X mats. Those are about $11 a piece. Order them on Chewy or Amazon, and put those on the furniture. That way, that does it for you. At the same time, condition him to go to a dog bed, and there should be a dog bed in every room in the house. I like for dog beds, I like the color to be light gray, white, or a light cream, and no pattern. So that way when we throw a treat on there, the dog's gonna see that treat because of the contrast. Also remember, every time you walk away from your kennel and the dog's not there, leave a treat in the kennel. Every time he gets a new toy, he should find it in the kennel. Zip tie at least once a week, drill a hole through a bully stick and zip tie, and put it at the bottom of the kennel, in the back of the kennel, so he's got to chew on that. And then every once in a while, close the door and just throw a couple of treats in there, and then do your own thing. Wait a minute or two, have him paw to want to go in there, and then let him go in there. And then or when you drill and put the bully stick and you close the door with him on the outside of it, he's like, let me in there for that bully stick. We want to create a longing to want to go in there, and then positive things when he does go in there. That's what I remember about exercise. If he is naughty, if he's misbehaving, if he's bouncing around the room, if he's pulling on you, whatever it is, he's probably saying, I'm bored and I need some exercise. Don't fight it. Get him the exercise. 3 to 5 minutes on the doggy stairmaster, he's going to come and be very well behaved. Now for the mouthing, we're kind of transitioning to a new technique, and technically, from what I understand in the book, they said this is he's a little bit too old for it, but he seemed to respond pretty well for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of play with him a little bit, or engage, and when those times when he's mouthy, I'm going to go ow 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 ow. Now we don't want to use a high pitched voice because that'll sometimes create that. So ouch, 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 while he's mouthing your hand. Ouch, 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 ouch. Good boy. So we're saying, we're saying ouch, ouch. But as soon as he disengages, then we pet him and say good boy. Or you can come up with a command word. So what we're saying, we're rewarding the disengaging behavior. Now you should do that whether he's pulling on you, your skin, or even if he's pulling on your shirt or your watch. I don't have my bracelet on because he was trying to go after it. So I took it away, so I didn't want to give him temptation. But the idea is we want to help him learn to factor that stuff out. It's right here. The other thing is I like the Guardians. One of the Guardians plays tug of war and wrestles with him. I'd like the wrestling to be done kind of a little softer. And remember, the dog's energy level is what we're looking at, not if it's good or bad or performing well or not. It's if its energy is too high. So play with him, but as soon as he teeth touch you or he plays too rough, stand up and leave and close the door behind you. Wait a 30, 60 seconds before you come back out. That's called a negative punishment. It's a very powerful message to send to a puppy. When you put your teeth on me, it causes me to leave. What the dog's saying is, engage with me, play with me, I'm bored. Well, if I know that this causes you to leave, that's not playing with me. And after enough repetitions, but it's got to be bang, bang, teeth, I'm out of there. I'd also like you to play tug of war with him. Again, not too intensely, but anytime he touches you with your teeth, you can yelp or ouch, and then just drop it and leave the room and close the door behind you. So you're teaching him that, again, that stops the game. And the dog likes the game, so after a while he'll stop doing those things, so he wants the game to continue. Okay, we also talked about pre-max. For the rest of the rules, not be allowed in the kitchen when we're eating, not allowed to be, or when we're preparing food, and not allowed in the dining room when we're eating. You're going to stay and not be allowed in the bathroom when we're going to the bathroom. And if possible, we'd like to leave that bathroom door open when it's appropriate to do so. No guests in the house. And he's not allowed to go in. Now remember, before you do it, walk backwards. Don't put the treats on the floor like I showed you, but walk backwards and then eventually sit down with the door open. But do it before you drop your trousers and all the rest of that stuff. So if he comes forward, you're going to stand up and march towards him. Remember, you're going to mirror him. So if he crosses the line, takes 3 steps, and you stand up and take 1 step, and he takes 3 steps back, you stop at that point. If he's still across the line, I march all the way up to where the line is, but I stop where the line is. That's how I enforce invisible boundary. He needs and then once he sits or lies down there, then you can actually drop your trousers and do your actual business with the door open. You did a warm-up session. But we need him to practice doing things apart from us and being comfortable and relaxed outside the bathroom without the door open, kind of like the exercise we did with the kennel. I'd also, like I said, make sure you get a kennel, or not a kennel, but a crate, a dog bed for each room that you hang out in. All right, so the other pre-mac that I started talking about, pre-mac is a principle. Pre-mac means that a less desirable behavior will earn you a more desirable behavior. So you go to the door and you tell the dog to sit, a less desirable behavior in this equation. If the dog sits in 2 seconds, you open the door and let it go out, and then it gets to run out and free, a more desirable behavior. If you tell it to sit and it does not sit within 2 seconds, you walk away, sit down nearby, and wait for 1 minute. After 1 minute, go back to the door, command the dog again. If it doesn't sit this time, walk away for 2 minutes. Next time, I walk away and sit down for 4 minutes, then 8 minutes. I keep doubling the length of time until eventually the dog sits down. Now, the sitting and waiting is not part of a pre-mac. A pre-mac just means a less desirable behavior earns you more desirable behavior. I'm just adding a little bit of my own spin on it. So you can do that for pre-mac for attaching a leash, preparing the food, putting the food bowl down, opening the door of the kennel, all the rest of these things. So look for, if you're playing fetch, he's got to bring the ball eventually and drop it, and then you tell him to sit before you even pick it up and throw it. So again, you're adding conditions, and that helps him shift from a leader to a follower's mindset. We also talked about petting with the purpose of passive training. Petting with the purpose is petting your dog for a reason. If you want to pet your dog or your dog wants you to pet it, you tell it to sit. If it's already sitting here, you tell it to sit here, here, or here, or tell it to lie down. Don't tell it to shake. If it sits within that 2-second window, you pet it under his chin. If all things are equal, you can pet it anywhere you want except for here. Don't ever pet your dog here. They don't like it. It creates a down nose orientation. So it's about to sit. You say sit, and then you start petting it, and then you pet it as much or as little as you want. And then you go back to doing what you're doing. Now, if I go back to what I'm doing and the dog comes and sits again, it's probably saying I need some energy burn. So take it to the stairs. Do the doggy stairmaster or fetch or whatever it is. But what you're telling is leaders tell, followers ask. When you tell me what to do, nothing happens. But if I tell you what to do and you do it, you get a reward. That motivates the dog to want to do it. It's kind of a pre-mac. And so basically, eventually the dog will sit down to prepay for the attention. When it does, you bet your butt, you better pet that dog. Remember to use the watchword of paycheck if you forget to pet with a purpose and somebody comes in the room and says paycheck to you and you're petting and the dog's saying, even if you did it right, you stop petting, say sit. If he sits, you pet him under his chin, say sit, and then you tell the person, I actually did it right, you missed it, but thanks for reminding me. Now remember, if he doesn't sit in that 2-second window, lean back, show him you have other things going on. Playing hard to get is a very powerful motivator for dog training. Works just as good at dating. All right, so we also talked about passive training. Passive training is waiting for the dog to organically offer you the behavior on its own. So you're sitting there and the dog walks up to you. When it's a half a foot away, say the word here and then start petting it. If it comes over and sits as his butt's about to hit the ground, say the word sit right before the butt hits the ground and then pet him. Most of us train our dogs to do the wrong things. Good attention, bad attention, the same thing. Well, now I pet you for sits, for comes, for laying down, for eating. I use this to assign command words for my dog. Every time it takes its first bite of food, I say lasagna, if that's Max that's eating. Now, that's ideally not the ideal situation. You say lasagna, and then he goes and eats. But the way I teach it is every time the dog takes his first bite of food, I say the word lasagna. When they take the first drink of water, you say lasagna. Now, it's better if you know that they're about to eat, and you say lasagna before they take that first bite. And for him, because he likes to eat so much, you can do it pretty easily that way. But for passive training, what it is we're just going to be more mindful of what the dog does. And every time it does a behavior that is associated with something we want, sit, come, down, eat your food, potty, drop, things along those lines, that gets our attention. Nudging, barking, all the rest of the stuff doesn't get any attention because that's what we remember, good attention, bad attention. So use the watchword celebrate, just like we were going to do in puppy class for you. So I point at you and say celebrate. That means you missed out on an opportunity to pet your dog. So you immediately turn and start petting your dog as fast as you can. Then you look at the position it's in. If you miss it, you just say the word sit. It's better to say sit right before it sits, but it works if you do it then too. So then you pet your dog. So you're giving your dog a reason to do these things because these are the things that get your attention. And I promise you, the more attention you give it for that activity, the more the dog will offer that activity. And eventually, instead of nudging you or jumping up or parkour that he was doing before, he's going to come and sit in front of you to pre-pay attention, like we talked about for petting with a purpose, because that's what and that's the other side of the coin, the passive training. So say celebrate to each other if you're missing opportunities to pet him. Make sure you get him more toys. I would get him a water buffalo horn. Make sure it's solid. Don't get a thin one. Get him an antler, a solid antler. If you cut it, if he doesn't like it, get one that's split down the axis, and that's opens it up, and that's more desirable for him. Or give it to another neighbor dog for a day or two and bring it back. He'll probably chew on it. I would give him a water buffalo horn, an antler. Make sure you're getting black Kongs. I would get him a couple more Nylabones, and they come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. So don't just keep getting the Y one. Get one that looks like a chicken and all sorts of different stuff. And then I would also get him a Himalayan chew or two. Those are also, and at the very end, when he gets the last little bit of the Himalayan chew, don't let him chew on it. Take that out and microwave it for about 45 to 50 seconds. It'll blow up like a marshmallow. Let it cool down, then you can give it to him. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I can't think of anything right now. We went over the escalating consequences. I don't go over those on film, but message me if you forget any of them. Please message me if you have any questions or problems. Now, the last thing is I would like to send Dominique back, and I'd like to have her work on the relaxation protocol. I think the stuff that we're going over here is going to be really beneficial, but Dominique is also into agility. So what I'd like to do is set up an interview or a session with you where Dominique comes over and goes over the leash pressure thing with you a little bit more, and also the relaxation protocol, but she can also talk to you about the foundations of agility training. I think he would be an amazing dog for agility training, a wonderful way for him to expend that energy in a positive, constructive way. And the exercise I showed you above should help him be comfortable with that kennel. Now, if you have questions on this or anything else that we went over, make sure you message me. If I don't hear from you, I assume that everything is going well. So I don't charge for phone calls or texts. I have a lot of videos to share, but I won't know to share them with you unless you let me know. All right, well, this is Scooby's Roadmap to Success. Remember, everything that you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.